earlier who all was going to be here for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Wes is not here today, so do with that information what you will, as it is National Signing Day. And as we joked yesterday, I guess we can call this Harbor Day. Hopefully you all left out your milk and cookies for St. Nicholas last night.
Oh, a milk and cookie. I like it. We're the direction we're going with this. Yeah, Harbor Day, definitely a big thing. Wes, taking a day off on signing day. What are we doing here?
That's questionable.
Very, very questionable. But anyway, I am here, hanging out here with you, Tyler, for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Appreciate everybody being with us. Yeah, this has been, Tyler, an interesting one. There has not been, first of all, to back up, this signing day, as we know, was going to be and is still kind of uneventful in terms of the overall number of targets, right?
Right.
We knew that South Carolina was going to come in really eyeing, barring some big surprise, two different things, and one of them completely and utterly drama-free, and that is Elijah Caldwell at a Northwestern signing with South Carolina. That letter has already been sent in. So good to go on that front. That takes care of one of the items. The other one, of course, is what you led off with, and that is Nicholas Harbor, the 5-star, the top athlete, according to the On3 consensus in the country. I think they've got him ranked number 21 nationally now, and the top prospect, obviously, unsurprisingly, in Washington, D.C. as well. Longtime South Carolina target. First visit to South Carolina in, I think it was June of 2021. Someone that Shane Beamer has been on, really dating back to his days as an assistant at Oklahoma when Nicholas Harbor was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, that was the main one to watch. And it's been a pretty drama-free recruitment. There have been some ebbs and flows in it. With a big-time guy like Harbor, that is not uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a ton of 5-stars. You see it some of quarterbacks as they commit earlier, but you don't see a ton of 5-stars go through, and it's just this clear-cut, start to finish leader.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot. And so we've discussed in the past that he's got this really interesting list of finalists, not a geographic concentration. It's not like here's a bunch of Southeast schools.
Sure.
Or here's Maryland, Penn State, or, whatever, a bunch of schools in the DMV Northeast. It's not a bunch of, hey, here's a bunch of Big Ten schools. It's this really interesting kind of almost an eclectic group of finalists.
Yeah.
And South Carolina has been for some time in a good spot. And that has varied from, when you say good spot, that's varied from being maybe the outright leader, in my opinion, or not just my opinion. I think at times been the outright leader.
Yeah.
To, being in the top 2, top 3. And we've seen, I think, Michigan at one point, for example, I think took pole position as the leader at one point before falling off. And now you have Oregon entering the chat, so to speak, and they have come in quite late. They actually offered him earlier in 2021 when Mario Cristobal was the head coach, but the newer staff under Dan Lanning, it took some time with those relationships, but they did get the last minute or last weekend official visit that everybody was kind of going, ooh, that's one to watch.
Yeah.
And there have been there are some pros and cons to every school on his list, not just us analyzing it as media people, but
sure,
there have been pros and cons of here's some things that he legitimately, would have questions about, some things that may be better at this school, not as good at this other school. So it's been a drama, even though there've been ebbs and flows, it's been a drama-free recruitment in that, Nicholas Harbor is not one of these guys that just plays around with people and things like that.
Yeah.
But where we are at, Tyler, with less than 2 hours to go, as you said, to this announcement, is I think we've got a little back and forth here. Late last night / early this morning, I think Oregon made a giant push. And I think that push started on the official visit weekend. Look, you got to Oregon, it's going to be impressive for a guy who's a 2-sport athlete with, big branding aspirations. That's going to be impressive. Nike, the track program, all that stuff. It's going to be super impressive. But But here's one thing to consider. I mean, Nicholas Harbor lives in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Oregon is in Oregon, and that is have
Not
you
close to
ever
Washington,
made that?
DC.
Have you ever made that trip, Tyler?
I've not been farther west than Alabama.
Oh wow. Okay.
So no.
I have not been to Oregon. I've been to California. I think Oregon is a good bit further west than Alabama.
A little bit.
It's just slightly. That is a long plane trip, and so you consider when we're talking about pros and cons and check boxes, Oregon has a lot. They have kind of that Oregon kind of like aura, for lack of a better term. They have that vibe. Dan Lanning doing some good things out there historically with football lately. They've had a really good program. Phil Knight, Nike, the track program, the branding. For someone like Nicholas Harbor, you have got to consider that.
Yeah.
I mean, this day and age, some people say, well, kids shouldn't consider NIL and branding quite as much. We would all consider it, and we should.
Sure.
If we're in that same position. And so, that part is impressive. Now, the distance, you think about him, to go back to what I said earlier, he's in Washington, D.C. That's a long trip. And so you'd be making that, not only are you living out there, but if your family comes out there, for example.
Right.
You're making the trip from D.C. to Eugene, Oregon. It's hard to get out there, probably a bunch of layovers, et cetera, every week during the football season. And if you have away games, by the way, maybe you're not in Eugene, Oregon, but now you're in Pullman, Washington, and you're in Utah, and you're in Berkeley, California, and you're in Los Angeles. And so that has played in. So I think for Harbor and for his family, there's kind of some conflicting. I don't know if you call it head versus heart, but maybe it's like heart versus business or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you do say it's. I think Harbor, the heart kind of pick for him, and that it's not only emotional appeal about South Carolina, right? But the relationships that he has with Shane Beamer, Sterling Lucas, Jody Wright, those are substantial. Pretty long standing, especially with Beamer. He's got really good relationships with guys on the team, with commitments from the 2023 class. Desmond Umeozulu from the DMV region. Those guys talk a lot. But on the other side, you've got Oregon, and you've got a guy that has Olympic track aspirations. I know we went over it this week, Tyler, that Curtis Fry, South Carolina's track coach, has a great track record in terms of Olympians and being involved with Team USA. But Oregon has some things in their favor too, and they've got Nike. And so you can see how this would be a tough decision. And so this morning, kind of woke up, working the phones, getting texts, all that, and really got more than a vibe that Oregon had made a giant push and had the momentum. In the past 2 hours, South Carolina's not dead in it.
Okay.
And so now we might have a true back and forth, which makes sense.
So it's going to be true 11th hour until the words come out of his mouth, puts the hat on, whatever he decides to do. We're not really going to fully know here. But I brought this point up with Colin Taylor when we were talking in the bonus for the 9 o'clock hour. It says a lot about this South Carolina program and what Shane Beamer and this coaching staff been able to do, for the fact that it's pretty much down to them in Oregon, that they are one of the final two on this guy's options here. And it'd be different if he was an in-state commit, but for somebody that's not local in the area, that's a lot, or says a lot for what they've built so far, and the relationships they do establish with these recruits.
When you, as a program, and we got to assess this after 1 p.m. If this will be more of a talking point if they land Harbor,
right?
But in a program that's kind of on the rise, when you start landing kids that outsiders or even people that cover the program kind of look at it and say they don't have any business getting that kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Kind of to your point, then that's when you're doing something. And so I did mention Nicholas Harbor's a different kid.
Yep.
This is not your typical guy. And so the kind of weird, for lack of a better term, like group of finalists that he has, I think kind of illustrates that. Maryland, home, and Under Armour and stuff like that. But you've got Maryland. Then you got South Carolina.
Yep.
Which, aside from Shane Beamer's ties, like there aren't a lot of ties to Nicholas Harbor right off the bat there. But you've got that. Oregon makes sense because of, again, the type of athlete he is, the type of profile he is. Oregon makes a lot of sense. They're recruiting kind of on a national level right now. They always have to some degree with their resources. You look at Miami, they're kind of in it because they're just going to get in with some big time guys and they pitch NIL. They were probably fifth in the thing, if that. And then Michigan, which makes sense not only because of their brand appeal, but also because of the kind of holistic, the Michigan man, the blend of athletics and academics that Harbor has been looking for. But like when you stack up South Carolina against like a Michigan or an Oregon, programs that have all this cachet and like the brand and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty impressive, to your point, Tyler, that they have been such in the mix for him.
And when you talk about making a final push on a guy like this the night before his commitment announcement, outside of like the NIL stuff where you say, hey, you know, we got this collective that can offer you X amount of money. What is a coaching staff doing exactly, talking to this guy or kind of making that last pitch before he announces a commitment?
I can put it more. So let's try to put it in the buckets of how I think it would be approached, like from, because this looks like it's down to Oregon and South Carolina. I mean, Michigan seems to have faded. Maryland, nobody thinks they're really in it. Miami, never really in it. And despite being in the Final Five. And so for Oregon, it's, hey, man, you are a national brand. You are, you need to come here because you're going to maximize your earnings potential with NIL, and then into the future, you're going to be on this stage. You can point to football, the football program that, track is just, there's this association with Oregon being out there to train and things like that. If you're South Carolina, it's, hey, man, you got to bet on yourself. Like maybe you have some potential looming NIL deal out there with Nike and you understand that branding part, but you're going to get that whether it's now or later. Maybe it's not from Nike, maybe it's from somebody else or whatever configuration it is, but you got to bet on yourself and you got to bet on the relationships. It can't be just business decisions. You also have to enjoy your time in college. You have to enjoy the relationships with your coaches. You've got the distance factor, right? That's something that South Carolina certainly has and will continue to harp on. And so, look, again, this is tough. I mean, even for a guy like Harbor, who is a plus student, plus kid, he has a great family structure around him. We got to understand this is hard. So if he gets up there at 1 and picks Oregon, there are going to be some people, Gamecock fans who might say, well, he was never coming here. He never really wanted to come here. He's looking for a reason not to go here. And that just won't be the case. It's just a hard decision because there's so many different things at it. Oregon is totally different than South Carolina. I mean, we're talking about two programs and places, ecosystems.
Literally couldn't be farther apart, both figuratively and like philosophically.
Yeah, I guess you could have like Miami would be a little bit, but I mean, it is geographically, program style, like pitch, all of it's so different. And so, honestly, that may make it harder, because there's not like it's two very similar programs and you're trying to pick out one thing. Like it's two kind of totally different, like push and pull vibes. And so I think if you're South Carolina, you're standing on your relationships, which have seemed to be very important to Harbor. You're standing on bet on yourself. And hey, if you're, Shane Beamer and Jody Wright, Sterling Lucas, all those guys, hey, you're going to have plenty of NIL opportunities here. Local businesses, national brands, collectives. I mean, you're going to have all those things too. And so, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, would Nicholas Harbor maybe maximize his like financial earnings potential a little bit more, or maybe even a lot more at Oregon? Probably so. That's fair. But what about all the other stuff? And so I think South Carolina's pitch, as things progress and continue, we still got time here. It's 11:15. This thing looked not very promising this morning. About 8 o'clock, didn't look good. And now, we don't know. I just, it's really hard to call, and I think it's still ongoing even as we sit here and talk.
We'll continue our conversation on this and other things in relation to National Signing Day. Got some pretty cool news in relation to this show, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Next Tuesday, we're actually going to have Spencer Rattler here in studio talking to us, and that's going to be really cool. Obviously, you guys had Boogie Huntley a couple weeks ago back out at Firehouse Subs, but going to be really interesting to see Spencer Rattler and dive into a conversation with him.
Yeah, going to have Spencer in here for really the entire Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, 11 to noon, February 7th.
That is correct.
I did some quick math.
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday, so Spencer Rattler will be here. Excited about that. A lot of territory to cover. We'll be able to take a pretty deep dive, multiple segments with him, so excited about that.
So we're going to run into our first timeout, come back on the other side, continue the recruiting conversation. But during this break, going to give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Luke Bryan. He is coming to the Credit One Stadium in Charleston on Saturday, October the 28th. If you are caller number 5 at 803-404-6100, you can win yourself a pair of tickets to go and see him. Again, 803-404-6100, caller number 5 wins those tickets. We'll be right back with the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse.
Got something to say?
Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer.
At 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. I absolutely love the D'Amico Ryans hire for the Texans. Here comes one of the most popular and respected guys ever to play for the franchise. After the Jack the Quack Easterby Power takeover disaster to the one-year joke deals of David Culley and Lovie Smith, the team needs something to make it whole. Enter D'Amico Vision. This is Damon Amendolara.
CBS Sports Radio.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time you need parts for your car, don't call it quits. Go to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Are you ready? Every pro is an MVP to us. As a Lowe's MVP's Rewards member, you can earn bonus points when you shop select products and brands. Then redeem them for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, e-gift cards, and more. Join today to become a member and start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any, subject to program terms while supplies last. Points expire at end of calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Do you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes? Good news. There's a new way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. Call U.S. Tax Shield, A+ rated with the BBB, 800-391-5063 for your free consultation and let U.S. Tax Shield protect you from the IRS.
Hey, why not try something extreme and exciting this year, like zorbing?
Oh, dizzy? Ouch. Really dizzy?
Or maybe something really adventuresome, like human catapulting. Or maybe just try eating extremely good pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. We start with hand-tossed spring water dough, add the freshest ingredients, and bake it all on the stone. Now that's exciting and extremely delicious. The Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. Did you know that all Wi-Fi is not created equally? Did you know that if you have a Wi-Fi extender, you could actually be losing more than half the speed of your internet? And did you know that Wi-Fi in your home could be outdated and not as fast as it should be, or that you want it to be? Integrated Media is installing the latest and most secure Wi-Fi available, and it works everywhere, from the garage to the kitchen to the bedrooms and even in your backyard. What's your favorite streaming app? Do you want to stream sports, movies, old classic TV shows? Integrated Media gets you the correct equipment that works for you and your family. Want to watch college baseball games but don't see them on regular cable? You can stream all of them from services like ESPN+, Hulu, YouTube TV, Disney+, and more. Integrated Media can guide you to the perfect setup for you and your family to get everything you want all the time. Call them up at 803-948-8327. See them on Facebook and Instagram. Get the latest in Wi-Fi technology that works everywhere from Integrated Media.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air. The 5th annual Driving Down Maine virtual golf tournament, hosted by the United Way of the Midlands, is coming up this February 6th and 7th at the Players Club, 1626 Main Street. Proceeds will be benefiting 17 Midlands elementary schools. Register your team now online by going to ua.org/DDM. Save 10% with the promo code THEGAME, all caps in one word. Again, 10% off by using the promo code THEGAME, all caps. It's United Way of the Midlands Driving Down Maine virtual golf tournament, February 6th and 7th at the Players Club, 1626 Main Street.
South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer's presser will be at 2 p.m. today, and you can hear it live right here on 107.5 The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios, this is 107.5 The Game.
Discover Herndon Certified, Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
And welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Chris along with you today. Wes, I guess just taking the day off on National Signing Day.
Yep.
Though I do believe you've brought his replacement in the studio now, so he's going to fill in for him on a very, very busy day in y'all's world.
Yeah, shout out to my buddy Jay McLeod from Irmo Middle. He is hanging out with me in studio today, actually doing a little job shadowing. I don't know why, but I'm honored that he picked seeing what we do. I think so far he's probably been like,
this is
really?
what you do.
This is what you do. Let's get Jay a little bit of a mic check.
Yeah, let's try that.
All right, Jay, what have you thought so far?
There we go. Try it again. Oh, okay, there we go. Right mic. Okay.
Right, Mike. Yeah, we didn't have your mic on, Jay.
Okay.
Live radio. What have you thought so far?
It's pretty cool. I definitely would consider this in my future.
Yeah. All right, we're good to go.
Now, did you specifically plan for it to be on National Signing Day when you knew he was going to be like super busy and all over the place?
It had to be in the month of February.
And why not start off the month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were like, hey,
Coolest day.
this would be a great day. And I explained to Jay that, it's not what it was. In 2017, I would have been like, all right, if you really want to get a look at this, like you have to be in the office at like 5:30 a.m.
Right.
And we're going through all the things. Now it's like, all right, there's like two things happening today, but still exciting day, right?
No, absolutely. And we're T-minus under 2 hours until the hour of Nicholas Harbor's commitment comes to be. We just don't know when in that 1 hour time frame it's going to be.
Yeah, I've gotten actually, Tyler.
We have breaking news
Well,
or an update.
I don't want to say that.
Okay.
But we do have a little bit of a schedule.
All right. Cool.
For
We like that.
Again, as you said, in the 1 o'clock hour, and this is subject to change because it is going to be televised.
Sure.
But it looks like at some point between 1 and about 1:15. So originally it was kind of, hey, there's going to be a bunch of kids sign, and then Nick might go last. It looks like they're going to kind of lead off. Yeah, he's going to be kind of in that middle segment. So they're actually going to start the program at about 12:50. That part I'm sure not televised, but about 12:50 they're going to kind of start the program, and then Nicholas Harbor's coach, starting at about 1 p.m. is going to kind of host the segment, for lack of a better term. And then at some point in that window, kick it to Nick Harbor. So it looks like we'll know sometime in that first quarter of that hour.
So, and you've been to these, a million of these kind of things. You know how they go. The principal's going to get up and talk, and the teacher's going to get up and talk, and the parent's probably going to say something, and then the coach is going to talk about how great of the player this guy was, and how he's, everything that this program stands for and all that stuff. And then, 103, 104, we might finally get that commitment.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we have been to some where you're sitting there. It's actually been a while. Everybody's doing a good job with it nowadays, but there have been some where you're sitting there like 30 minutes after the ceremony was supposed to start, and you're still sitting there, and it hasn't even started. Sometimes, actually one of the most common ones in terms of delay is they're like waiting for a family member to get there.
Oh, yeah, my uncle, he's stuck in traffic, or he's getting lunch, he's late.
You see that one a ton, but I think with this one, I mean, I've got a copy actually of this agenda. It is that I was sent. It is pretty it is pretty specific. I mean,
Okay.
we have like, here's a 5-minute window for this. The first window of time is a 17-minute window. So
it's pretty specific.
yeah, this is kind of like a TV production, and it is a TV production because
Right.
ESPN's involved. So I think you do see when ESPN's involved, you tend to get things a little bit more buttoned up because they're like, look, we
Right.
gotta do it this way. So yeah, but sometime in 2 hours,
We'll know.
we should know.
Yes.
We should know where Nick Harbor's going. By the way, I want to take a second to tell you about our friends over at Amy Mason Cup State Farm. If you are a small business owner in the Midlands, you have obviously a lot on your plate. You have to have a plan, happy customers, steady cash flow, everything you need to have your business succeed, but you also need an insurance agent that gets you. So State Farm agent Amy Mason Cup also runs a small business of her own here in the Midlands. And as such, she understands the unique needs that you have as a local business owner. So she's going to make it easy to choose the right protection for your business at the right price. You don't need any stress about your business insurance. You can call State Farm agent Amy Mason Cup for your small business needs today. Phone number is 803-772-5554. I can personally, Tyler, speak to Amy's expertise. We were looking to switch and save on our insurance, get good name brand insurance. We called Amy. She took care of the rest. She's got an experienced team. They're knowledgeable. They're very responsive. They're very helpful. Whatever your needs are, she and State Farm have you covered as a local agent. They can give you a personalized quote to meet your needs. So give her a call today. That's Amy Mason Cup, 803-772-5554. Her office is right in Ashland Park Plaza, 612 St. Andrews Road, Suite 4. Again, that's Amy Mason Cup, State Farm, 803-772-5554. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about Nicholas Harbor some more.
Yeah,
unless you wanted to switch gears.
I just wanted to touch on a couple other things in reference to signing day for the Gamecocks as well, outside of Nicholas Harbor. And, we got the official commitment from Elijah Caldwell this morning. He has signed, they put out the tweet or whatever. So he is officially going to be a Gamecock. And it looks like Xavier Hardy, as we talked about yesterday, is going to go the junior college route to hopefully become a Gamecock in a couple of years.
Yeah, two good notes there. To not forget about, lost in kind of the Nicholas Harper hoopla, and very deservedly so. It's a big storyline to follow. But Caldwell, I know Wes, when he was in here earlier this week, and even last week when South Carolina started really making a push for Caldwell before he committed, that was I think a pretty important acquisition for them. You just kind of look at the fact that they needed more receivers in this class, whether that was some potential impact guys from the high school realm, even the junior college realm, or the transfer portal, just any way you slice it. They needed some more numbers in the class, but even beyond that, of course, they needed some potential impact guys. So I don't even know if you write off. Caldwell, obviously not an early enrollee because he waited until February to sign. He'll be a summer guy. I don't even know if you necessarily rule out him maybe seeing a little early playing time. If not, I think this is a guy that could eventually be a really good player for South Carolina, kind of a late bloomer, may be fair and may not because he's been a good player.
Right.
But he had a really big senior year, 20 touchdowns. I think he had like 70 something, 80 catches. Shrine Bowl kid. And then obviously kind of bet on himself. Talking about betting on yourself with Nicholas Harbor earlier. He kind of did that on the recruiting front and decommitted from West Virginia, picked up NC State, picked up South Carolina, ends up signing with the Gamecocks. High IQ player. And so I think someone not to forget about in this 2023 class that's ended up being, in the top 20 as of right now. With Hardy, this is a guy that, athletically, really, really big upside on him. Unfortunately, just some academic issues there. I know he put out a statement officially last night that kind of laid it out on social media, going ahead and informing everybody that he was going to go the junior college route. So I don't know if you've seen Tyler. I haven't seen where he signed officially. Have you seen anything on that?
I haven't seen anything yet. I just know it's the junior college thing, which essentially is he's going to go to junior college. They're still going to continue to recruit him, and the other schools are going to be talking to him as well. But the hope and the expectation is that after the 2 seasons at junior college, he's able to transition into South Carolina. And again, I think this goes back to an academic thing. You get all that straightened out, and then be able to come in as a transfer junior at that point in time.
And not a shock because we knew even when Hardy initially committed to South Carolina, I think that was back in the summer or maybe even August, sometime in that June to August window, I think it was. he was a guy that we knew even back then you were going to have to monitor of, okay, got to see if he makes it academically. We knew for months really that this junior college deal was a possibility. And so we've seen this. Heck, we saw this really recently with an in-state kid, Elijah Davis out of Wagner Sally. He was in the 2021 recruiting class out of high school. A lot of schools, including South Carolina, liked him a lot. You kind of get him placed at a junior college. Don't sign him. You just kind of place him there, monitor his progress with the goal and the hope of getting him back. And sometimes, Tyler, even when you place a guy, you can get into a little bit of a recruiting battle. That happened with Elijah Davis. He ended up picking up Alabama and Georgia offers, and Tennessee made a big push at the end. South Carolina able to get him back home 2 classes later in 2023 as an early enrollee and a really good get. So I think you're going to probably see a similar path with Hardy in that East Mississippi, by the way, is one of the schools that he is actually heavily considering. And haven't seen if that's the school that he signed with, but it's possible. That's the one I heard the most about leading up to this. And so maybe able to, he signs with that school, goes, takes care of business. You get him back in a couple cycles as an early enrollee who's now set academically, and then you can bring him in as an even more seasoned player and take advantage. And he's a guy, athletically, there's a lot to like. A big framed kid who could probably play inside or outside.
Run to another timeout, come back on the other side, continue our conversation about National Signing Day as we inch closer and closer to the Nicholas Harbor announcement. You're listening to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, 107.5 The Game.
Gotta take.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line.
Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
803-404-6100.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
If you're thinking about retiring soon, be sure to tune in to Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby of Preservation Specialists. Join Pat as he talks about the latest trends and headlines that could impact your retirement. Don't go into retirement unprepared. Listen each Sunday morning at 10 to Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby of Preservation Specialists. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Kalos Capital Incorporated.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right, we'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929 for more details.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out.
My drinking had become a problem. Too many nights waking up at 3 a.m., sweating, head pounding, self-loathing, and anxiety hitting me hard. Thinking, how did I do this again? What's wrong with me? Why can't I stop?
If you're finally ready to stop drinking completely or just want to drink less, naltrexone could help you. Naltrexone is an FDA-approved medication that reduces cravings and pleasure from drinking, making it easier to drink less or quit alcohol altogether. And you can see improvement almost immediately. Whether your challenges with alcohol are mild, moderate, or severe, or health makes it simple to get started with treatment. Just text BEST to 323232 to get a secure link to our private online assessment. One of our licensed medical professionals will evaluate your assessment, and if medication is right for you, prescribe it directly online. We'll deliver your prescription right to your front door. No doctor's office visits required. You really can stop drinking or just drink less. Text BEST to 323232 to get started today. Text the word BEST to 323232. Text BEST to 323232.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-767-6464. 800-767-6464. That's 800-767-6464.
This Valentine's Day, skip the rush on cards, chocolates, and flowers and give your loved ones what they really want, an insanely clean home from the pros at Zerorez. Their patented process uses ZR water technology to clean your carpets and other surfaces like no other. And with no residue, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Right now, mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119 plus a free hallway. Book online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
Jay Phillips here for my good friends at Dan's Fan City in Harbison. Ceiling fans don't sound like something you think about a lot because you don't really need to, but when you've got them, they work well, keeping energy costs down and your comfort level up. John at Dan's Fan City wants to remind you to make your ceiling fan move in reverse this time of year to keep the heat off the ceiling. See John for any questions and for all of your ceiling fan needs. Go to Dan's Fan City in Harbison or call him at 781-FANS. You'll be glad you did.
5-star recruit Nicholas Harbor will announce today at 1 p.m. We'll be talking about it all day here on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5
The Game.
Back in on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game. Tyler Head and Chris Clark with you here going until 12 o'clock. Going to jump back into Nicholas Harbor conversation in just a second. But first, it is Wednesday. That means there's a sub of the day waiting for you at Firehouse Subs.
I took the break, Tyler, admittedly, to go finish smashing the rest of the Firehouse sub of the day.
Nice.
Jay, my shadow today, went with the meatball classic. Always good for any day of the week. But I checked out the sub of the day, which is actually the New York Steamer. It is actually one of my favorites. So took the opportunity on Wednesday to get it. You can get it too. Any of the 14 Midlands locations of Firehouse Subs. You can walk in and get it. You can order it online with Rapid Rescue at firehousesubs.com. That means you can go in there, order it, customize it, pick the sub of the day, and then just walk in and get it all made up for you and put on a nice little shelf so you don't even have to wait in line. You can also order through the Firehouse Subs app, check out their rewards program, or, Tyler, if you hit up the Firehouse Subs text line with your takes on Gamecock football, recruiting, Nicholas Harbor, you actually get a link back to order with Rapid Rescue if you do that. So a bunch of ways to order. Today's sub of the day at Firehouse Subs, New York Steamer, that is $5.99 for a small, $7.99 for a medium. And there is a sub of the day at Firehouse Subs for every day of the week.
And speaking of the Firehouse Subs text line, again, 803-404-6100, have a nameless texter texting in asking, when it comes to the back and forth communication with Harbor, is that all Beamer? Is it a combination? Like, who is the one talking to him up until the 11th hour before this commitment?
Great question. Appreciate the question. It's a combination. So there have been 3 main people involved, and it goes beyond that. I mean, you have, for instance, like Taylor Edwards and his staff, who's the director of player personnel. They're heavily involved in recruiting things. So they may be having some conversations. Actually, those guys build good relationships with a lot of the prospects, some even more than others, just depending on how things go. But yeah, Shane Beamer, I mean, look, I said it earlier. When he was an assistant at Oklahoma, he was recruiting a kid, Anton Harrison, from Nicholas Harbor's high school, Archbishop Carroll. And Beamer was really helpful, actually, in opening up some doors for Lincoln Riley in the DMV area. Mm-hmm. And you remember they signed Caleb Williams, who went to Oklahoma, now is with Lincoln Riley and won the Heisman. Shane Beamer gets an assist there. He went to Gonzaga over there in DC, and Beamer helped open up that kind of that runway to recruit some guys. And so they signed Harrison from that school. And I think at that time, Harbor was a freshman. And so started building the relationship there. As soon as Shane Beamer got this job, December of 2020, he made it known, hey, I'm coming after you for a target. And that was really before Harbor became kind of that nationally known recruit, 5-star, that name. And Harbor's talked a lot about that. So Shane Beamer's one. Jody Wright, the tight ends coach, has been instrumental. Sterling Lucas has been instrumental as well in this recruitment, the edge coach for South Carolina. All those guys have been heavily involved in the conversations. They built great relationships with Harbor. And so it's been a team effort. And from what I've been told, even this morning, those conversations, it's been all of them, I think.
So, and you've been doing this for a long, long time. What other commitments for South Carolina, or at least prospects that South Carolina had a shot at, what does this kind of process with Nicholas Harbor kind of remind you of? Anybody specific?
Oh man, that's a good one. This literally has been not a cop-out answer. It's been one of the more unique recruitments, just because of like the list of schools, and I'm trying to go back to some of the, think about some of the big time recruitments in the last, I don't know, several years.
Yeah.
So Clowney in the 2011 class. Well, that one was different. It was crazy.
Sure.
But it went to February 14th. So that was when you had one big signing day.
Yep.
He extended his past. Clemson made a big run late. Alabama was in it. You always felt pretty good about South Carolina. Marcus Lattimore. You had actually Oregon was in the mix.
Yep.
Penn State. You had Auburn. You always felt pretty good about South Carolina, but you had to, go through that process. And I think at times it did kind of go back and forth. South Carolina wins out. I think to answer your question, we'll have to see who he picks first. Let's see if he picks Oregon or he does go back with South Carolina, because that may kind of change my answer. Like Jordan Birch, that was a very different one, but doesn't really remind me of this. It could if he ends up, LSU made a giant push for Jordan Birch. So if Harbor were to commit to South Carolina, it might remind you of Birch, actually, who's now at Oregon, ironically. Marshawn Lloyd, he kind of came out of nowhere with a Gamecock commitment on either Labor Day or I think it was Memorial Day.
Colin Taylor brought that one up.
Did
He
he?
said he was on the lake with his family that day, because Memorial Day is kind of a random day for something like that to happen. And all of a sudden, he's out there having a good time, and suddenly he's got to go into work mode.
I was unappreciative of that. Yep. I was like outside doing a family party, playing outside, all that stuff too. But I think it's a great question that honestly I haven't thought of as much. I do think that let's see where he goes. If he commits to Oregon and signs with the Ducks, it may remind you of this recruitment. If he signs with South Carolina, it may remind you of that one. It could end up being a little Birch. Yes, but see, another storyline with Birch, he had his commitment ceremony.
Yeah.
And then he didn't sign.
Right. And then he went silent. For the next month and a half, I guess.
It took a little while. And so then he turned in his letter, and it was South Carolina. So, that's another storyline. Like, we haven't thought of this one, and there's no indication this is going to happen, but you do have to keep it in your back of your mind. Recruits have ceremonies sometimes, pick a school and then go with another one. I mean,
sure.
We saw Peyton Bowen, who ended up, I think, signing with Oklahoma. He was committed to Notre Dame.
Yep.
5-star kid from Texas, committed to Notre Dame this cycle, went up during his signing ceremony in December, committed and flipped to Oregon.
Yep.
And then signs, doesn't send in the letter and signs with Oklahoma. And so, again, there's been a lot of back and forth with this Nick Harbor thing. It's been South Carolina's been consistently strong, if not the leader. They've been in the top 2, top 3, like consistently. A lot of times I think they've been the outright leader throughout the whole process. You get the Oregon late push by securing an official. You get the buzz about Oregon after the official. And then it seemed like Tuesday night, very, very early Wednesday morning, they pick up a ton of momentum. But now South Carolina's re-entered things.
Absolutely. And again, we're not going to know until, I guess, probably about an hour and a half from now when he makes his official commitment. And something that I brought up last hour, let's say he does end up going to Oregon. With how college football is now in the era of the transfer portal and guys jump from school to school to school, you still keep that relationship as much as you can, because you never know if at some point down the road, the Oregon program starts to go in a different direction. Maybe the NIL isn't what he thought it was. We certainly saw that happen with Jaden Rashada down at Florida, or maybe he just wants to come play in the SEC before his college career is over. Like, keeping that relationship and making sure you're still at the top of his list. Should he ever want to leave Oregon, if that's where he decides to go at 1:00 something today, then you never give up on somebody like this, especially now.
Yeah, and that's why, if he does choose Oregon, follows through signing with Oregon with the Ducks, you're not going to see like a scorched earth approach. I don't think you're going to see, I could be wrong, but I don't think under that scenario you're going to see Shane Beamer 45 minutes to an hour later at his press conference at 2 come up and, rail, well, we had a kid we thought we were getting and this and that. You're not going to see that for the reasons you mentioned, especially with, it's not like Nick Carber has handled this poorly at all on his side.
Right.
That hasn't been the case. And the relationships there are very, very strong. And to your point, in the transfer portal era, you got to keep the relationships good. And especially knowing in the back of your mind, if he does sign with Oregon, man, he's going way out there.
Yep.
And there's probably even a better than average chance that maybe he doesn't finish there. We'll just have to see.
We'll run into our final timeout, come back on the other side, and wrap things up for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. I'm Tyler. He is Chris on 107.5 The Game.
Have you missed any of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour?
You can catch up at 1075thegame.com.
Or by downloading our 107.5 The Game app on iTunes or Google Play.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text DIME to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text DIME to 200-300 right now. Text the word DIME to 200-300. Don't wait, text DIME to 200-300.
Experience the future of connectivity with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet delivering the fastest speeds in the nation for $49.99 a month. Advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security, free for 12 months. And a Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G, free for 12 months. That's Spectrum One. Visit Spectrum.com or your local Spectrum store today. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
It's the final days to save big store-wide at the Truckload event at Lowe's. Right now, get limited-time deals on your favorite tools and accessories. Plus, get 10% off in-stock kitchen cabinets with a $1,000 minimum purchase. And save even more on clearance cabinets in-store. Hurry and shop the Truckload event in-store or online while you can. Must ask cashier to apply discount at time of purchase. Exclusions apply while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Valid 1/26/28.
Research shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you remember, Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. We personalized this ad for Amber, who really misses boy bands from the 90s.
Hey girl, I'm the cute one, here to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I'm the heartthrob. The only thing I love more than you is saving. And I'm the other boy in the band everyone forgot about.
Just happy to be here. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Jay Phillips here for my good friends at Dan's Fan City in Harbison. Ceiling fans don't sound like something you think about a lot because you don't really need to, but when you've got them, they work well, keeping energy costs down and your comfort level up. John at Dan's Fan City wants to remind you to make your ceiling fan move in reverse this time of year to keep the heat off the ceiling. See John for any questions and for all of your ceiling fan needs. Go to Dan's Fan City in Harbison or call him at 781-FANS. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, my name is John, and I'm self-employed, and we got sidetracked on our taxes at the 2008 recession, and it became a monster that we couldn't tackle ourselves. We heard about the Ecton Law Firm on the radio and contacted John. If you could classify someone as a miracle worker, I would put him at the top of the list because he took our problem and resolved it for us with our not only our unpaid taxes, but our unfiled tax returns from previous years. And I would highly recommend the Ecton Law Firm.
It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. So if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today at 771-9800 or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today. You'll be glad you did.
South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer's presser will be at 2 p.m. today, and you can hear it live right here on 107.5 The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell.
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. A few more minutes to go here, wrapping up the 12 o'clock hour. Again, counting down until 1 o'clock and the Nicholas Harbor announcement. But regardless of what happens with Harbor, this is going to be a very, very solid class that Shane Beamer has brought in for 2023, which he, of course, will address at 2 o'clock, and a lot of positives coming away from it.
Yeah, this class currently ranked, according to the On3 consensus team recruiting ranking, 17th nationally, 8th in the SEC. And yeah, it's a great point. Kind of easy to forget about like the class that's already in place for a couple reasons. Number one, today's kind of been dominated by Harbor Watch to see if the Gamecocks are going to get Nicholas Harbor. And then, you know, you've got the December signing period. So the hay is in the barn with that. So you look at what South Carolina signed in this class. 23, total guys in the class. You've actually got, 8 transfers in the class. In your blue chip ratio, which On3 kind of uses blue chip ratio of how many 4-star guys or higher you have in the class, 48%. So about half of your class. So this is Shane Beamer's best on paper class. Each one has kind of built on the other. So Desmond Umeazulu, actually, another DMV guy from Flowers High up in Maryland, is now the On3 consensus, which means averaging all 4 of the major recruiting service rankings together and averaging them and spitting out an average. He is the now highest ranked guy in the class after all the recruiting service updates. But, him, Marquis Anderson from Dorman, Pup Howard, who's already on campus. Look at Xavier McLeod from Camden, Elijah Davis, Lenora Sellers, who had a huge senior year and was a flip from Syracuse, Montague Rames, Jalen Kilgore, Bakari Swain, a guy that On3, their own personal rankings, they have as the number 51 prospect in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a class that has a lot of really good players. Dontavius Braswell, Trovon Ball. I mean, a lot of highly ranked guys in this class.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the progress of Shane Beamer as a head coach, obviously the first thing you're going to look at is the progress on the field and going from just above 500 season in his first year to having 8 wins, obviously the 2 to close out the season, a good bowl game against Notre Dame, even though you came up short. You're seeing that progress there, and you're also seeing it with the quality of the recruiting classes, depending on where you're looking at. This one's a top 20 in various numbers, but you're bringing a lot of 4-stars, and you're continuing to build that depth and build and improve year by year by year, which is what you need, obviously, if you want this program to continue to improve.
Yeah, and, again, I've said this, I feel like it's like broken record alert, but it is worth pointing out again, Shane Beamer takes over December 2020, so you're taking over a 2-win program. Things aren't great, from that perspective. Now you got to rebuild it. Well, it's come in and, all right, you can't go on the road because of COVID. You can't have prospects on campus. You got a brand new staff. You're a first-time head coach. You need to go fix this roster, internally and externally by who you bring in. Good luck. And so you got to kind of cobble together. And by the way, when you're hired, you have, I think, 2 weeks until the early signing day. So it's good. Hey, go hit the portal and cobble together what you can out of the high school ranks from what's in the class and what you can go get. So that's tough. 2022 was better, but you still got like a more limited runway with all those factors.
Right.
So now in 23 and in 24, which you've already seen them get off to a great start, you've had a longer runway to like build those relationships with prospects. And so I think that's why you've seen 23 for a guy in Shane Beamer that's been such a relationship-based recruiter. That's why you've seen an uptick in the quality of the class. And in 24, it's got a chance. We'll see where it goes. It's got a chance to be even better.
Right. And again, Shane Beamer going to speak to the press at 2 o'clock. Again, the hour after the Nicholas Harbor commitment. And regardless of what happens at 1 o'clock with Nicholas Harbor, there's a lot of positive takeaways from this class. And, interested to see kind of how Shane Beamer breaks it all down. And as we look to going forward into what will be the spring season. And then before you know it, we'll be talking about football here in the fall.
Yeah, going to be really interesting. My biggest thing, look, we've heard about a lot of these kids already because of December. I mean, almost all of them, basically. I mean, got Elijah Caldwell. So Shane Beamer, I mean, my biggest thing now, we are about an hour away.
Yep.
This ceremony, not the harbor part, but the actual ceremony, from my information, is going to start at the school at about 12:50. Harbor's part expected to come in that first quarter of the hour. So my whole focus now for this next hour is not to discount what they did in December and the class that they've built, but Nicholas Harbor Watch is in full effect. And the biggest storyline, fair or not, is going to be if Shane Beamer walks to that podium and is able to announce him as a signee or not.
Absolutely. We'll keep it locked here all day long on 107.5 The Game. We'll have that coverage for you when Harbor makes his announcement, and we will carry Shane Beamer's press conference at 2 o'clock as well as he wraps up the 2023 recruiting class. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. I'm Tyler. He's Chris. We'll be back tomorrow to break things down after we reflect on what is the final day for signing of the 2023 class. Thanks for listening. 107.5 The Game.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, your home of the